Like, I think in the last race, the race that I tracked last night, I think there was both Lock and Lock 2 were in there. And since we're not running the experimental flag that have 100% accuracy, that was kind of a wah-wah kind of a find.
No, yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I guess we should mention for bosses, one of the other flags we have today is our bosses are clamped, which means they have a minimum of vanilla hit points and vanilla stats, and they may have more.
Yep, the range is 100 to 200. I believe the regular enemies go up to 250 and are not clamped, but the bosses go up to 200 at least this round. I think it goes up for the second round. Another thing that I forgot to mention, that we do not have any forced party members, but for this entire tournament, the black belt has been banned because that kind of breaks this whole format. Because one person can just grind a black belt to level 42, while the other partner just goes around finding everything, and that just doesn't. That's A, not that interesting, and B, probably not that fair either.
Yeah, absolutely. It's much more interesting if we actually have to dig out our randomized magic, we have to make adjustments, and that's honestly what I'm here to see is how well these runners adapt themselves and their gameplay to all the randomness in the seeds.
And we are underway. Already we have our team members splitting up, fight Corneria Castle, turning into one of the Cardia Islands and finding the ship in the first chest. Wow.
And then we also have on the bottom, we have both groups going for magic. White magic, there wasn't anything too great. There was a heal 2, which is red or white mage locked, and a pure, and then, heal 2 is in the third slot, so it is accessible to red mages. And then
Fire
3.
Fire 3 in the black magic is pretty good. It's not the best AoE out there, but it'll certainly get you through the early game. But I also saw there was a Bane staff in amongst those Cardia chests as well, so that's definitely a nice thing to perhaps clear some troublesome enemies early on.
Yeah, no, I missed that, and that is one of the great things and horrible things about co-op is there is all action all the time, and it's very hard to keep the track of all 4 screens at once. We do have save items, which is often a consideration early, and if I remember right, there was some exceptional items in the armory of Cornelia.
I honestly didn't see. I didn't really see. Looks like the weapons are not too much to speak of, but ooh, apparently Super Luigi finding another Cardia Isle. That must have been at Temple of Fiends.
Yes, that was Temple of Fiends, and then his partner is in Provoca. Checked the white magic, but I didn't see the black magic. And here he is fighting the pirates that are Biggie's buddies that jump down. These are not safe pirates, so they could have any ability. He gets lucky and gets turn order and white.
Yep, definitely. Alright, so what does Biggie have, I wonder? And wow, getting up to level 4 right off the bat, that is nice. And it's the cube. So given the entrance and floor shuffle, we may end up having, who knows where that cube block will be. And Super Luigi finding an empty Cardia Isle at Dwarf Cave, Splinpuch finding Temple of Fiends.
Yeah, Temple of Fiends was at Elfland Castle, so that is one of the challenging things about having these floor shuffles is that you never know where the fiends are going to be, and it can take you a while to find all the 4 fiends and the Temple of
Level 2 magic has a Temper, Bracken, Zap. White magic, Fog 2, Invis, Cure 3. It's alright, but it's not that great. Question in chat about edited enemy sprites. But graphical changes are allowed as long as it doesn't change the functionality of the game, I guess. And it's also kind of half unspoken that as long as we, as viewers and commentators and whatnot, can understand what it is that we're seeing. Like, if we don't know if what we're looking at is a fighter or a thief or a red mage or whatever, it's kind of frowned upon. And we have the king finding, I think that was an A-lit staff. That's not good.
Yeah, and then the other thing I'm paying attention to is the level 3 and 4 magic down here in the bottom right on split punch screen. So we have exit, wall, and invis 2 all at level 4. The level 3 black magic was actually useful. We had Bane, Zap, we had Cake.
It's an Ice 3 at level 4, which is... okay, so that was an A-lit hammer. Okay. So that's... The magic is... Well, exit's alright. Into seeing a whole bunch of stuff on the same level is kind of a double-edged sword, because A, it's nice to see, but you're really limited on how much you can use them. But now that we've seen both Corneria Castle and Temple of Fiends, once Garland gets taken out and Princess Sarda is rescued, we can see what the princess will give us. And yes, one element of entrance and floor shuffle is that once when you rescue the princess, you aren't teleported out. The princess only teleports herself out.
Yeah, I just want to know, like, if you can use warp, why doesn't she use that before Garland's defeated?
Well, maybe she was incapacitated in some fashion.
And the princess has a canoe.
Okay. So we have the ship and the canoe. That does open up some potential here. Since we have free bridge and free canal, we can pretty much go anywhere with the ship. And I know we have open progression, but we don't have extended open progression, and I don't remember what the difference is offhand. I don't know if that means that they have access to on-rack with right now or not. Same with
I know they don't have the canoe-less on-rack dock, but they do have access to the floater, and there's a dock at the floater desert. It looks like, so we do have the Doctor Shuffle on, where 3 of the NPCs are somewhat randomized, or maybe randomized, so yep. I'm looking at Sledge's screen. Dr. Un is at home in Melmont.
Yep, so we'll swap to see where Bahamut and the Elf Doctor are. See if they've swapped places or not. Yep, and Super Luigi pausing long enough for Sledge to acknowledge that the canoe has been transferred over before resetting out. Saves a bit of time.
Very smart play.
Yep, saves a bit of time since it saved out in the open ocean, out in the sea. Meanwhile, on the Ordeals with It team, we have Split Punch finding a floor of Volcano. Well, and I believe that was at Northwest Castle. Neon Gray exploring the river system.
And we have a question in chat, Crab Cakes. Yes, we have regular open, not extended.
Ooh, Sledge finding the Volcano Armory and also the Rod Lock. So we found the Vampire Floor of Earth. But without the rod, you can't get any farther than that, though there are still some chests there. Ooh, Aegis Shield.
Yeah, and I'm still not exactly sure why it's called the Vampire Floor. I've yet to see a vampire actually there.
Maybe you just weren't looking close enough. Anyway. We got some level 6 magic. We have Fade and Cure 4 at level 6 in Crescent Lake. Not the best place to see it, but Ooh, there's Nuke too. Oh my. So that's an interesting thing to see for spell availability. I don't remember where red mages and red wizards fall on that. And
You do get that fast shirt
I
you
called
were
it, didn't
predicting. Yes, you did.
A shirt that casts fast. Wow.
I mean, were you hanging out with the, confused old men before stream or something?
As I tend to be confused at times, but I had nothing to do with that. Meanwhile, Super Luigi finding the slab in Sky 2.
Yeah, so that fast shirt is really nice, especially, I didn't catch the level 5 magic, but without having fast and a fast caster for sure, we do have plenty of temper charges, so offensively, melee-wise, we're pretty well set.
Yep, plenty of. I think Temper was level 2, and with the fast shirt, pretty much anyone can be your fast caster on this. So that's convenient if nothing else. So like if on a Topher dive, normally if your fast caster dies, you're kind of screwed. But with the fast shirt, you can just switch it over to someone else and continue onward.
Yeah, it looked like Split Punch had a little bit of trouble with Marsh, but managed to make it out. He's got 2 of his characters damned, but is making it back to it.
Yeah, question in chat regarding the magic items. It's pretty much the same magic items, like the mage staff, white shirt, black shirt, etc. It's just the spell that they cast has been randomized, and their names have been changed to reflect that. Just so it would be annoying if we had to experiment to figure out what the spell was.
Right, there are a few limits on those spells. It must be a spell that you can cast during combat.
Right, so you won't be seeing like an exit, warp, even soft wouldn't work. Though we do have the harm staff that Super Luigi found in a gold bracelet for Sledge.
Sorry to disappoint you, Crabcakes, that is not a Warmech yet. The Warmech is required before you get to Tiamat, but Warmech is not unleashed, where we can find him any.
And there's the Duke shirt at the wizard chest in Marsh. Oh my. That is huge. Super Luigi telling Sledge, and I'm sure Sledge will definitely want to grab that.
Yeah, and we do know what shirts those were. That Nuke shirt was the black shirt because the white shirt is... Well, the white shirt is incentivized, and it came from an NPC.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, I didn't think about that.
It's a trick I picked up from one of our commentators last night.
Yeah, although, really, for our purposes, it doesn't really matter until they try to equip them. And since Super Luigi at least is running double red, it won't matter at all.
True. Plus, they need to get the tail and promote, which is not guaranteed in these.
Well, Neon Gray finding the mermaids. That's going to be a good few chests to collect. Not finding a heck of a lot so far, but definitely a huge treasure trove, even if at the very least you're getting money. And we're still early enough that money is still important.
Yeah, and that reminds me that we still have yet to see our vendor item that's normally in vanilla. It's the bottle at the caravan, but it's moved around and it can be any price. It could be as much as 65,535 gold, which is quite a bit.
Although the price isn't necessarily as prohibitive as it normally is, because if one of our runners finds it, they can sell off a couple things, buy the item, wait for it to be synced up, and then reset out and get all that money back.
And we have seen this, although I didn't quite understand it. Someone sold the Vorpal in an earlier match just to get the item, but then they reset to get the Vorpal back, and I wasn't too certain why you would need to do.
They probably didn't save between finding the Vorpal and selling it.
And for those of you unfamiliar with the community, the Vorpal versus Masa Moon, so those are the two best swords in the game. They're two end-game swords. Masa Moon has much more attack power, which can be better, and often is, but if the tougher the bosses are, the more you need to rely on critical hits to do your damage, and the Vorpal has a higher critical hit rate, so there is a cult that you may see pop up in chat from time to time that is very much in favor of Vorpal.
Honestly, the word I wouldn't label it as a cult, because that seems a little derogatory there. I'm personally, I would probably prefer Masa, but I do appreciate the value that Vorpal has, because there are some situations where it is better, despite what some people may say. So if I have both,
That's
I'll probably
fair.
use both, but it's just a matter of which situation is it better for.
No, absolutely, and the tougher the bosses are, the better the Vorpal get.
Yeah, if the boss has like particularly like high absorb, where even a Masa user is only doing like 5 for 5, then the Vorpal is definitely better just because of the crit rate. But if it's high evade, it could go either way. If it's just the high evade, if the high absorb isn't there too, you could go either way. But Masa is probably just from the hit rate, might end up being better. It really all depends. We all have our preferences.
No, absolutely. And noticing that Split Punch did not exactly have a lot of gear until he found that he did find the Pro Ring, which is the best hand item in the game. Possible exception of the Power Bonk with the spell cast on it. But it's certainly highest absorb for that slot, usable by anyone, and it's a fantastic.
Yep, it's prevents a whole lot of insta kills, and goodness knows insta kills can be the bane of a good run, especially if you're like deep in Topher and you get baned or something. But wizards appear to have stop. That's not good.
Yeah, and I'm looking at another of our favorite enemies, the Gurmenduses, but they didn't seem to have anything too scary. They just hit like a truck, especially if you don't have a lot of armor this early.
And whoop, we found our vendor item. It's at Onrak the Floater for about 26,000. Which, given how much money our runners had found, it's not really that. Goodness knows the Sledge was able to afford it right off the bat. So we have the canoe, we have the ship, the canoe, the floater. There's nothing stopping us from getting airborne now.
Yep, and honestly, that is probably what I would do right now, is the sooner I can get the floater, the sooner I can get to all of those entrances in Cardia. I can think about that slab turn-in, because Lefane, our towns are not shuffled, so Lefane, you do need the airship to get.
And as mentioned, the towns have not been shuffled, so in order to turn in that well, we haven't had the slab translated yet, but once we do, we have to go all the way over to Lefane to get the item for it. And Beyond Grave finding Ordeals and is ordealing with it. I apologize.
It was their team name. You don't need to apologize for it. I think they would appreciate it.
That just felt like a bad whatever. Moving on. It looks like Sledge is heading over to the Ordeals location. Let's see what that ends up being. And it's Sarda.
That'll be a nice incentive item. And then Super Luigi, I also noticed, picked up an ice sword, which is one of the better swords you can use before class.
Yeah, and Sledge finds the tail. Okay, so
And here we see the magic of co-op, where Super Luigi, right there in Bahamut's cave, already turning that in for his promotion.
Oh wow, that is some nice timing there. Because I'm convinced that Super Luigi had just found that when Sledge got that tail. So we're about 19 minutes in, and we have our first class promotion. Meanwhile, Split Punch is turning in that slab, and Neon Gray finding the crown loose in Ordeals.
And I'm trying to remember, I don't know that we've seen Northwest Castle.
I don't believe
so. We can't turn in the crown quite yet.
No. But that does lead towards the. There's an opal gauntlet in the chest. Not much, but the crown at the very least will get us towards that. I think it was 200, an extra 200% experience once we hit. I think it's 12 key items. Let me take a look at that again. Yep, 12 key items, and the experience they get is doubled. So that's worth it, if only for that.
And here we have Sledge being the first to make it to the air at just under 20 minutes. And
it
this
looks
is
like
one of...
And I see Split Punch is about to get that floater too. He's on his way to Onrak.
Yeah, just the floater is just one of those things where we actually pay a lot of attention to it, because it really opens up the seed in terms of the locations you can go, and is a good early indicator of maybe what teams ahead or behind. It's not absolute, because you just don't know.
So Split Punch finds that floater, unfortunately does not have enough money to buy it, and there are no weapon and armor shops in Onrak, so he can't sell off any ancillary equipment to afford it. That is unfortunate.
And it looks like he's going to try to grind for it, which is one option. The other option, I believe you can, with the canoe, you can run over to the caravan. But I'm not sure if you can sell anything there.
No, it's an item shop, so no. And it's an interesting strategy. I think Split Punch was off by like 5,000 or 6,000, so that would still be a bit of a grind to get that much. Even I think our flags are like 4 times plus 250 or something like that. So it's not, the grind shouldn't take that long, but it'll still it's a non-zero amount of time for sure.
Right, and we do have some talk in the chat by our tracker Thier 1989 and Crab Cakes, our recent champion of the spring tournament, suggesting that you should dive waterfall. And it is a bit of a gamble with the floor shuffle, but that's a play I hadn't even considered.
Yeah, that I was thinking the same thing, and initially that's where I thought that's where Split Punch was going to go. But for all you know, it could end up being just a dead Cardia Isle or something. Goodness knows, someone will probably end up checking that spot sooner or later. But and Neon Gray getting that information is parked right by the Ryukan Desert, just waiting for Split Punch to get that floater. And looks like Split Punch is going to head up into the waterfall, see what's there. So one thing I noticed, we're about 22 minutes in. We still haven't found any of the fiends yet. Because I know I've seen races where, through Brackstrats or what have you, we've had bosses beaten like within the first 10 minutes of a race.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But then it's just a matter of what you can get to and when, and where that ship, canoe, and float. There are so many entrances in Cardi Isle. I've just recently started playing some of the entrance shuffles, and Cardi Isles just always seems to have 2, 3, 4 critical entrances.
So it turns out that Waterfall led. I don't know if this was the first floor from Waterfall, but it led to Sky 1. So that has some chests, but this wants to just going for encounters, and he's in a huge hero run in the encounter table. It's like, it sucks when you want an encounter and you're not getting one.
The encounter rate, from what we can see, is half. There are a number of our flags are posted right there in the center of our outlay.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see that there. I saw all the other things, the experience and such, but it'd be easy if I just looked at that instead of looking up the flags myself, but oh well. Live and learn.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, getting used to the co-op environment, because it's 4 people on the screen instead of 2, and it just makes everything a little bit more challenging.
And looks like Sky 1 isn't treating Split Punch very well. He's still about, I think it was a couple, 2, maybe $3,000 short.
Yeah, and so we don't think he actually checked the chests in Sky, even using that hero run. And I know that's something some of our top runners like to do, is what they call a walking grind, where they'll check the chests while they're looking for encounters for XP. And if you get something great equipment-wise, then that's just bonus. I mean, and I think you could do the same with looking for gold.
Just barely enough, wow. Yeah, but goodness knows, like, 1 eye would have been more than enough to get that floater purchased. And we found our first fiend. Sledge finds the Lich floor. And Neon Gray gets that floater. Had to actually enter the desert to get that, to use that. And Ordeals with it is airborne.
Yeah, I was wondering why he was waiting so long to reset out, but I guess that explains.
Yeah, just wanted to make absolutely sure that Neon Gray got the floater synced up. And Sledge with having our first fiend battle against Lich. Normally, Lich is kind of a speed bump, but I think Lich's group is around level 7. But even with a nuke shirt, this may be a little bit hairy, depending on what Lich has.
Well, Lich is always at his least dangerous when he's punching like that.
Yeah, true.
There we go. We have tempers on the archer, and they don't even go off because the nuke shirt takes Lich down.
And Neon Gray heading straight for Lefane to turn in the slab and gets the rod.
And we do know where the rod lock is, so that may be something that they're headed toward pretty quickly.
Yeah, I know somebody. Sledge finds the dwarf cave. Not much there. We don't have any of we don't have the adamant or the TNT, or the key for that matter, so they can't get anything else there yet. But that's good information, and that was from Titans West. And it looks like Sledge what's Super Luigi doing?
Super Luigi is at Ice Cave, and then
which is Castle Ordeals. Okay.
And then Neon Gray looks like heading to Cardia Isles, which is probably my favorite spot here in the floor shuffle, as I mentioned before. We found the first floor of Ice Cave.
Honestly, if that was the first thing I saw, I'd probably check the others before diving into that, because that can be an interesting little rabbit hole to go through. And I think Neon Gray may agree. Cardia Isles is definitely nice in entrance shovel because there's just so many entrances right here. You're bound to find something good. Like the Kraken floor, for example. I don't know if it qualifies as good, but it's certainly necessary. And oh wow, Sledge finds the TNT in Sky 1. Split Punched was right there. If he had gone up for those tests, he would have found that. Oh, I didn't even notice Super Luigi got a ribbon. I think on Neon Gray's side, I think that got renamed as the cute hat or something. So I didn't realize that's what that was.
I didn't either. I just assumed it was a cap, which is a common and useless piece of equipment, or
Right.
relatively useless, but the ribbon is in-game equipment.
Definitely. And there's an Invis axe. Not Invis 2, but it's something.
Well, and often at the end game, you're just trying to make sure that that one character gets all the evade, so that one character can just melee attack and take down a fiend. So it's still a fantastic.
Sledge also finding a pro ring, and Neon Gray finding the Titan. Doesn't have the ruby yet though.
And then we also found another Sea Shrine floor, it looks like.
Yep, it's one that doesn't have any chests in it, but it's definitely something to consider if we need to hunt down something. Split Punched finds that Lich floor, and Neon Gray finding, ooh boy, Sky 3. There's a good bit of chest right there. I think there's what?
I want to say 14
on this floor.
Yeah, I mean high chest density. Always a floor that you make sure that you get at least some of the chests on there. Especially
Sledge finds the carry floor, and the Agamo tile turns into the eye. That is huge.
Yeah, so typically when we do grind for XP and levels, we use these trap tiles. And there are two most common grinds are the Agama grind and the eye grind. And the eye grind is slightly superior for one eye. One eye versus one Agama. And to have that upgrade like that and to actually find it, then they know where they're getting their levels, and it's pretty easy to get to it.
That was a good level or two for Sledge right before the carry fight. And having that nuke shirt definitely made... And ooh, Neon Gray finding a loose bottle in Sky 3. As Split Punch takes down Lich. I was so focused on other things I didn't even see it. And the crystal too, right next to it. Holy cow. And the Vorpal sword.
And the game changer. Yeah, absolutely. That one treasure room is packed.
Super Luigi finding a blind helmet and a Cure 3 sword. Not bad, but not great. Now, Carrie is hitting as hard as Carrie often does. Oh my, hello. Turn order? No.
Oh, and that carry floor is in Waterfall underneath the Sky 1 that I don't think Split Punched found that.
Nope, Split Punch didn't even check any of the chests on that floor. Just went in there trying to find a random eye encounter or something to get money on. So, if nothing else, if Sledge having that information about the eye tile being on Agama is really, really nice. If we find the Agama floor, that could be some good experience right there. Super Luigi finding Mirage 1. And Neon Gray finding Excalibur as well, and the Ruby. Wow, this floor was loaded.
Right, 2 endgame swords, 3 loose items. That's an amazing find, and yeah, I don't blame Neon Gray for popping out and saving before even looking at the next...
Right, even with things key items being synced, you definitely don't want to have to go and grab those again. And Neon Grey finds Elfland Castle beyond all that.
And we do know that the Elf Doctor is here because we found Bahamut in his cave and we found Dr. Un at home at Melmond.
Right.
So we can't really do much here yet. We don't have the key for the armory, but it's an important turn in Lake Cave. Right. So it's an important set of information that we'll mark down for later, so we can just come straight back there, blow through Sky 3, and go straight down there where we're.
There's the other Invis Axe, and Neon Grey's making the trek to Kraken. As Sledge is having a rematch against Carrie. And yeah, it's pretty much nuke or bust here. Because Sledge's levels are low enough, he's not doing much for damage on the physicals. But with the in 2 charges, hopefully that helps survivability. And let's see how tough Kraken is for Neon Grey. Doing Brack strats, and ooh, 839. And the Bane Staff too, that one's also ineffective.
Yeah, Kraken is in the mood for a hug.
Kraken's always in the mood for a hug. And looks like Sledge was unsuccessful at carry once again.
And then Super Luigi is finding a little bit of vanilla in here. He finds a lit gauntlet, which isn't that useful, but he found the less than greater than room just after the first floor of Mirage.
Oh, there's the Pro Cape. That's pretty good. Neon Grey's heading right back in. When you're using Bane and Brack that many times, eventually, gambler's fallacy it may be, but we've seen Kraken getting broken into pieces often enough. So it can happen. It's just a matter of how much time are you willing to spend to try to make that happen.
Well, and my understanding is that Kraken is particularly vulnerable to Brack, so we'll go down to it one every 5 or 6 times, depending on whose math here.
And there it is, broken into pieces. Kraken goes down, and Ordeals with it gets their second orb.
And there they take the lead in orbs. They have 2 orbs to Supersledge's 1, but we do know where Carrie is, where we for Supersledge. Ordeals with it knows where Kraken is and has defeated hers.
Yep, and Sledge is in the huge treasure trove that is Sky 3, and Supersledge also has the advantage of having been promoted already, so they have the advantage when it comes to available equipment and spells. Speaking of, oh, there's Saber at level 7. That's we won't be using that, I guess.
Yeah, it's unlikely that Saber is self-castable only, so it's unlikely anyone that would use it would actually have a good melee.
Right. Although we did see a race recently where a white wizard with Massa just cleaned house, so anything is possible in this game. Ooh, Neon Grey, Wild and Gaia turning in the bottle. Let's see what we get from the fairy. And it's the defense sword, but it turned into the sleep sword.
So I guess it's a really blunt sword now, and you just bonk somebody with it and they go to sleep.
I don't think our runner's goal is to knock things unconscious.
Fair enough. And they do have 2 other endgame swords that I would give slightly better stats to. Defense is actually an amazing weapon too, but they do have Excal and Vorpal and defense does require a promotion to use.
Yep, and Sledge finds Northwest Castle, and Astos turned over the Oxyale. So that's another entrance that we have available to us, and we are still missing. We still have not found Tiamat. Not to mention, we're still missing some rather important items like the loot and the key.
Right, so there are a number of turn-ins, so we did get the bottle. We do have the ruby for the Titan, and we do have, so they turned in the bottle. We do have the crystal for Matoya. We don't have the items for Dwarf Cave or the items for the Elf Prince either.
Right.
And those may or may not be required. All that's actually required is the key and the loot and the 4.
Yep, and it's just a matter of where those are. And Sledge finds the Kraken floor and is nope, thinks better of it. Or maybe okay, no, changed his mind again. He's heading for it.
And so we did have a question in chat about the items in the randomizer. Are they like vanilla and most of the on-hit effects not actually work, or is this a patched version? The devs have done an amazing job and patched the majority of the flaws in the original game that I'm aware of. The only one that's not in the current version is, well, I guess there's two. There's an adjustment to the hit rate of the ninja and thief, and that's not known if it's really intentional, or I don't think it's intended by the developer, but the other one that I know of is... and I just forgot it.
Well, I know there was a flags regarding the magic defense of the Black Belt and Master, but...
Oh, yes, there's that, and then the other one was the Lock and Lock 2.
Ah, yes. And for those interested in looking into this game, you don't even need to randomize anything. One of the default flags, one of the flag sets that you can just click on is called Improved Vanilla, where it doesn't actually randomize anything. You're just playing the vanilla game with just all of the various bugs fixed and quality of life improvements and whatnot. So, what goodness knows, once you go through the game with that, you'll probably never play play it the old way ever again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just the walk speed alone is half an hour or an hour off your total.
Oh, and the pro rings for sale for selling Corneria for 15 grand. That's not bad. It's not great, but goodness knows, Neon Gray at least has enough money to outfit the entire party. And Sledge seeing that there was the slimes at the Grey Worm trap tile. And just another thing to point the nuke shirt at.
Yeah, these are not fun enemies without nuke, but with nuke, they die pretty easily and they're great XP, so good catch by Will Cleosis and by you, Melee Wizard, finding this. And honestly, great catch by Sledge, recognizing that as a good place to grind too.
And split punched on the vampire floor, taking out said vampire. Probably won't be around very long. Yep, down he goes.
What screen is that on? I don't see a vampire.
Anyway, with the rod, Split Punch is able to explore farther, and there's the Bahamut corridor. So that's a free floor. So let's see what's beyond that. It's a floor from Sea Shrine with more chests in it. And
But
it'll
not
continue onward from there.
Okay, so I'm looking at and maybe I need to double check with our tracker, but it looks like Team Supersledge did not get all of the loose items from Sky.
Of which one?
So that was from the Sky 3, that's the Ruby, and so Thier says they missed the Ruby, but they got the Crystal and
the bottle and Crystal were right next to each other. The Ruby was in a different room. If Sledge didn't check all 3 rooms, I might have missed that. It all depends if he got, I think it was next to the Excalibur. If he didn't get the Excalibur, then we know he probably didn't get the Ruby as well.
Right, and those were the ones that, in a non-floor shuffled, I would almost check without thinking at any point, just because they're sort of on the way to the next.
Meanwhile, Super Luigi is going to check those same floors again, mostly just to, getting that 4-pull. And if they didn't have the crystal before, they do now.
And same with the bottle.
Yep, Sledge turning in the TNT. See what Narek gives us, and it's the Masmune. Still no Adamant or Key to get all the rest, but Masmune is definitely not a bad find.
Yeah, and it would be even more critical if they hadn't already found several other swords, plus their tail, and gotten...
And honestly, not finding the Ruby, unless they end up being low on levels, it only locks 4 chests. Yet, can there be something there? Yes. But I wouldn't stress about it right now, because Ordeals with it does have it. We'll see what it has whenever one of them ends up there.
Yeah, so Zenobian saying Sledge might have, right, we might have told something to Super Luigi. That is absolutely the case. These runners are in touch with each other. They are talking to each other. So that's how they know how to coordinate. We've seen some incredible coordination already this game, with like one getting an item and the other waiting at the turn in, so the team had that item right away.
Alright, so Split Punch heading for the eye tile, which is Red Dragon. So they've almost switched homes here.
So, Jed Levy asks in chat, are there only 3 items? And the number of loose items depends on the seed. And Melee, I think you were saying there were 8 earlier?
Yes, under this flag set there are 8 loose items. The only incentivized location, the only incentivized chest is the one at Keylock Marsh. Everything else, every other incentivized item, the only other incentivized locations are the various NPCs.
Which, I mean, that means you end up doing a lot of clearing dungeons and full clearing dungeons, but that also is a lot shorter when we have 2 runners doing it, not just one. So it's one of the adaptations that our organizers have made for this co-op tournament, and to me it's been really interesting in a very different way of doing these.
Oh yeah. It's definitely, it's a different kind of it's a different strategy here for doing something like this. Meanwhile, Split Punched is checking the Titan's Trove, so let's see if there is indeed something behind that ruby. So some money, copper, gauntlet, money, and there's the herb! Okay, we might have something here.
And Will Cleos is pointing out that Sledge was actually stun locked for a minute, and that was from the stun touch wizards that you pointed out earlier this match. So
yeah, they actually had the stun spell.
The stun spell. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I think it was stop actually, but it all accomplished the same thing. And Split Punch finding that third floor of Sky. Question in chat, how does class promotion work in random? Same as it does in vanilla. That has not been altered in any way.
There is one other sort of aspect that goes with it, though, is the spell permissions. And you can choose, and that's one of our flags, is whether you have the spell slot locked. So like we said earlier, so originally red mages can only learn slot 1 and slot 3 for white magic. But you can have those slots keep the same permissions, or you can have the same spells keep the same permissions. And in this case, we have just the slot.
Yeah, not. I don't think many people run the have that particular spell permission flag on, because it kind of flies in the face of running red mages. Because, like, say because even if Nuke is level 1, red mage can't learn it because it's Nuke, and Nuke can only be learned by a black wizard in vanilla.
Right. Well, and if to do that, you are already randomizing all your magic, so that's kind of the point of randomizing magic in the first.
And Split Punch turning in that herb, what do we have? And it's the Brack Gauntlet. So it's not required equipment, which does benefit Supersledge. So having that not getting that ruby will not hurt them. But having an unlimited supply of Brack, I'm sure a lot of people would definitely enjoy seeing that.
Yeah, it is a little shame that they got that after they took that dodgy Kraken dive, and where they took a couple of tries to get it. The other fiend that we typically see that Brack strats on is Tia, and we have not seen Tiamat yet.
Right, and honestly, the issue with Brack wasn't that they ran out of Brack, it's just they ran out of HP first.
Yeah, true. And Neon Gray going for the same chest in Titan's Trove must be going for that Brack item.
I understand this play. This, like I said, having an unlimited supply of an insta-kill is not a bad thing, regardless of how effective it ends up being. It's something you have in your back pocket if you ever feel the need to use it.
Yeah, so Neon really, I don't think they needed to do the get the herb, but they needed to do the herb turn it.
Yeah, and Super Luigi finding Matoya, turning in the crystal, and getting the chime.
And that was, Matoya was off of the C-split, so one of the big things that is important and sort of changes in importance with these floor shuffles is there are 2 floors where there's a split in direction, where you can choose to go with one way or the other. C-split is one of those, the other one is Marsh. And I don't remember seeing Marsh split yet.
I don't think so either. Although Split Punched is about to find that Nuke shirt, and we'll be very happy to see that.
And Neon Gray, I believe they haven't turned it, finds Northwest Castle. I don't think they've turned in the crown quite.
I don't believe so. Nope, that's where the Oxyel was. And Super Luigi finding the Q block. Okay, so another possible spot. There it is, the Bridge of Destiny. So we don't have to worry about our Bless RNGs because Warmech will be standing directly in our way in the way of Tiamat. So we will have to fight the big giant robot first, and Super Luigi is going for it. So we found all 4 of our fiends, but we're still missing the loot and the key. So we still have to check a whole lot of chests to check before we can go into to really make a dive into Topher.
Yeah, so we found the 4 fiends, we found Topher, So maybe we should, and it is coming up toward our hour, so maybe we should give ourselves a review of where we're at, where these runners are at, what we need to still do, what we haven't turned in.
Alright, so from the various NPCs, the king gave us an A-lit staff. Actually, I think that was a hammer, but anyway, either which way. The princess had the canoe, Vicky had the cube, Aestos gave the oxyale, Matoyo with the chime, the elf prince had the brat gauntlet, Narek had mass immune, Sarda had the tail, the sages had a fast shirt, the fairy had the defense sword that casts sleep, Lefane had the rod, the three Dr. Un, Bahamut, and the elf prince were all vanilla, and our various loose items, we had the ship loose in Acardia Isle, slab was in Sky 2, the floater was our vendor item in Honoract for about 26,000, the crown was in loose in Ordeals, TNT was in Sky 1, the bottle, the crystal, and the ruby were all in Sky 3, the herb was at the Titan Strove. And Sky 3 also had Forpal and Excal.
So if I'm counting correctly, that is all of our loose items. We have turned in the slab, we have turned in the crown, we've turned in TNT, we've turned in bottle crystal.
Yeah, that's 8 loose items.
Okay,
so what does that leave us?
I think the only thing that leaves us is that the robot must have the key, and the loot must be in the marsh lock.
Or leads to it, because it'll probably be the adamant that leads to the loot.
Oh, true. Or the robot could have the adamant for that matter, so...
Right. So, I guess our main thing is, where is the waterfall?
And I think Neon Gray is going to check one of our last remaining locations for it, because we've gotten the chime, but we haven't actually gone into Mirage Tower. Or at least not that I've noticed. So, and here we have Split Punch. This is our first War Mech fight.
Yep. So it looks like Super Luigi was doing some more XP grinding leading up to Warmech. And Warmech leads off with Swirl.
And is Swirl... I know Swirl is a skill, but is it one of the non-elementals?
I believe it is.
Okay. And what we mean by that is that there are 8 elements associated with attacks, and then there are a few attacks, especially Nuke and Fade, that don't go up against, are not elemental types, so they are not resisted by characters that are resistant to that. So they will go right through all of your defenses and do a lot more damage. And Warmech has Cure 4, and then just after that, Split Punched smacks Warmech for 440. So not terribly defensive, but Cure 4 is an important spell.
Yep, and the fact that we're finding it here on Warmech means we don't have to worry about finding it on any of the bosses in Topher. So that is good information, if nothing else.
Alright, so I am reminded by one of our more experienced runners, our restreamer for today, that the non-elemental skills do get resisted by your magic defense, but again, there are certain things, like the ribbon especially, that give you resistances against the elements. So those would normally be both resisted and magic defense. Non-elemental only goes against magic defense, which the only way to get that is to level up.
Yep, and Split Punch takes down Warmech, and Neon Gray finding the marsh split, and leads to the waterfall. The top half of the marsh split goes to the waterfall. Oh boy, we got something here. And Split Punch going back to the shrine split.
Well, and I missed it for a second. Melee, what happened with Tiamat? Did we go to Tiamat after Warmech, or did we exit out?
I think Split Punch must have exited out, probably just to preserve all those lovely, lovely levels that you get when you kill Warmech. I'm not gonna argue with that logic, because you don't want to have to fight Warmech again if you can help it. Especially when it doesn't really take that long to get back to it. If it was like 6 or 7 floors deep, that may be different.
Yeah, fair enough. And that might there is the robot giving the key to Neon.
And I know at the very least, Split Punched has found the bottom marsh floor, because that's where the nuke shirt was. And I'm sure Neon Gray will probably get that along the way, assuming they don't already have it.
I'm not.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm not. I don't think Neon Gray's promoted, because they have Excal, Vorpal, and all that, and aren't using them.
Right. I realize that the sprites are different, but I believe both players on Ordeals with it had alternate sprites.
Right, but there was talk in chat that Neon Gray had already promoted, when the evidence I'm seeing says no. Meanwhile, Super Luigi is still taking on Warmech. Putting that Cure 3 sword to use, though it's not doing too much. Well, Split Punch is taking on Tiamat, throwing out the Brack strats, though it's ineffective for the first two. One full round of Brack leads to nothing, and looks like Super Luigi took a wipe to Warmech. Yep, Split Punch isn't even bothering doing physicals, just going Brack all day. But eventually, it's gotta work, right?
Oh, and then Tiamat's just standing there if she's throwing out ink.
Hitting decently hard.
And broken into pieces.
So that's our third orb lit for Ordeals with it. All they have to do is get to the carry floor, which I want to say they know where it is.
I don't think they do. Because they went into the first level, if we remember, Split Punch didn't have enough money for the vendor item and on-rack.
Right.
He went to that first floor of Sky, which is in water.
Which is where we see Super Luigi at now. Because I think it was Sledge was tried a couple times against Carrie and was unsuccessful, but we're bigger, stronger now, and can actually take those hits from Carrie, and so this fight should go a good bit better now. Or at least the fighter can handle it better.
Yeah, and I know I see chat calling for a instant kill of Carrie. It doesn't look like we're gonna get that, although Super Luigi was trying with that Bane.
The insta-kill was unsuccessful, but victory was had regardless, and that is our second orb for Team Supersledge.
Alright, and their sledge is running through the waterfall, which we know leads to the key.
And the adamant... Wait, where was...
Adamant.
So the robot had the key. Where was the adamant? I didn't see that. Was that at the... Huh. I totally missed where that was. Oh, the adamant was loose in Volcano. Okay.
So there must be a ninth, or an occasional ninth loose.
I guess, unless I missed something. But the loose adamant ended up being where the loot was, though the key from the robot is still required. So with the key and the loot, that puts Team Ordeals with it in go mode. All you have to do is go hunt down Carrie. And it looks like Split Punch is heading in the right direction. And Super Luigi is off to take out Kraken, while Sledge is at the bottom of the waterfall and about to get that key. Unfortunately for Team Supersledge, since they don't have the loot yet, that key may lead them to diving that incentivized marsh cave chest, which we know is not going to lead to anything important. Could it be something good? Sure, but will it be required? No.
I'm thinking the only incentive item we have left would be the Opal Cheerio.
Which is still nice, but it's probably not what they're looking for right now. Yep, and he's going straight for it, which I guess, since turned out it wasn't very deep, and you can just exit right out afterwards, I guess that's not that big of a time sink. But still gonna be at least somewhat disappointing. Especially when there's a blue dragon in the way.
Yep, and then there we see Split Punch has found Carrie. So they are lighting their 4th orb, and then we will be headed to the Temple of Fiends if they think they're in a good place in levels, equipment, and so on. So there's often a shopping trip, but usually not too much more after the 4th feed.
And Sledge, yep, that is the Opal Bracelet in Keylock Marsh. So, based off the tracker, they're still missing the ruby, the herb, and the adamant, which will turn into the loot. Just from what Team Ordeals with it has.
Right, and we know that the ruby leads to the herb, which leads to that Brack Gauntlet, which is not required. So really, all they need to do is find the adamant.
Which kind of begs the question of... see, Neon Grey's still checking chests here in the Sharknado floor. I'm curious as to what they're looking for. Perhaps they're trying to find maybe another magic item that would give, like, Ruse or Inf 2 or something.
Well, and I think we've only seen one ribbon, haven't we? Have we seen more than that?
I thought maybe 2, but that's partially because of Neon Grey's text hacking, changing the name of the ribbon. That kind of threw me off a bit, so I'm not sure anymore. Yeah, and Sledge is checking more keylock chests as Super Luigi takes down Kraken. So they're at three orbs, and Ordeals with it is at 4. So they just have to go to Topher and head in. But they're still, Neon Grey at least is still checking more chests.
So just a couple of cleanup questions, especially we have some people coming in that missed some of our action. We have Zenobian saying that Neon did find a 2nd ribbon, and of course there was the inventory up that I...
Yeah, and basically actually seeing that Neon Grey actually has all 3.
Okay, so equipment-wise, yeah, okay. Equipment-wise, they're correct. That is 3. Masamune is from the TNT turn-in, which TNT is on Sky
1, which they Split Punch just passed right by those on the way to carry, so probably won't be getting that.
Yeah, the only real thing that Ordeals with it is missing is class promotion at this point. I mean, Masa would be nice, but they do have enough endgame weaponry to make it. The only other question is levels. It looks like Split Punched is around 24 to 26, which is certainly can be successful. And I'm wondering if we'll see some of the co-op strats for Topher that we've seen earlier in this tournament. So, and what I mean by that is where we have like one runner will push through at a lower level, maybe less equipped, and really what they're there is to find out what the roadblocks are. How hard are the different bosses? And they can pass that information along to their partner, and then their partner can prepare the correct amount, use the right strat to pass.
Find out perhaps where the nuclears are, that sort of thing. Okay, so the adamant was in the Agama floor. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, and as we go through our shopping trip, I just want to take a minute. So, in addition to our teams, we do have, and Melee Wizard and I on comms, we do have a couple of other people helping us out, making a huge difference here. So, all of this information about what item is where is being tracked and kept up with by Seared1989, who is doing a fantastic job, and it is why we know anything about what's going on. And then our other main behind-the-scenes helper is Dengwu, who is restreaming this. A longtime runner, fantastic runner, and a great help in the community.
Yeah, and also thanks to the Randomania Network for allowing us to put on this wonderful show for you guys. Sledge is continuing to check keylock chests, which we know there's not really going to be that much there. Unless they maybe find the dragon armor or something, but Neon Grey does find the tail. So there's one of the missing pieces that they were probably looking for.
Yep, and I think that is the only thing they were looking for, because Split Punch just exited out of Dwarf Cave. But maybe it was also that he knew what he was... that he didn't have the TNT to turn in yet. Yeah, those are some mean-looking slimes there on Split Punch screen.
Yeah, I noticed the slimes on Neon Grey's side looked a lot more friendly. Though probably no less threatening. So I don't remember... Where was Bahamut? I forget now. I know he was in his vanilla spot, it's just a matter of where that spot was. And it looks like Super Luigi is contemplating Warmech. Oh, Neon Grey is checking the Martian Center by the Keylock Marsh. Probably getting that nuke shirt along the way, assuming they didn't already have it. Looks like they did. They're passing right by it.
Right, so they might just be going for Masamune.
Well, Masa was behind TNT, and TNT was
right.
the Sky 1, that which was on the way to carry. So unless
right.
they're really desperate looking for stuff, they're probably not going to find that. But Sledge finds the Agama floor. That is where they need to be.
And
but he's going the wrong way. Apparently the adamant was in the top room, and Sledge is just passing right by it, unfortunately.
So Sledge was trying to take free chests and didn't actually clear that floor.
No, unfortunately. Kind of treating it like they're in go mode when they're not. That's gonna bite them.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate, but that is one of the big challenges with dealing with these co-op seeds, is that there are two of you checking everything. Which things did you check? Keeping track of it, and also communicating what you've checked is a big part of the difficulty here.
Neon Gray going ahead getting that class promotion. While Split Punch looks like it's just taking a good level grind off of these slimes. So I'm starting to think, what was there much for good spells in levels 1, 2, and 3 of White Magic? I don't quite remember now.
There were a couple of things like Fog 2 and Invis and Heal 2, but I don't remember anything that was really critically good, something like a Life 2 or a Ruse or a Cure 4 that I would really make time for.
Okay. So that makes a bit more sense now, because I would think that if you really wanted to get spells on that night, they probably would want to wait and do the main grinds after getting the class promotion. But if there isn't much for White Magic to be had for the night, it's probably not. It's just as well that you're doing the grind now. Although you probably would want to still do that promotion just so you're able to use like the Aegis Shield and other things. But the Split Punch is heading right into Topher. At about an hour and 14, Split Punch is our first runner inside of the Temple of Fiends Revisited.
Yeah, that is really curious to me, because even without the spell levels, I still would have gone for Excal or Vorpal, which Split Punch.
Yeah, well, he's rocking Sunsword. I believe we do have that. So it's unrunnable zombies. Okay.
And plenty of temper charges since that was level 2.
Yep, and the nuke shirt, so you pretty much have an unlimited supply of that. And Sledge still checking his... Looks like he's full clearing the Sharknado floor, which is unfortunate because he's like one floor away from where he needs to be, but he's not going there. With the Pro Cave is nice, though.
Correct, Night Dew. Temple of Fiends Revisited, the first entry was 114.
And Super Luigi heading off to fight the big giant robot. And it's around level 27, so level 27 with class promotion, we should be able to get to that. And Neon Gray finds that TNT. Okay, well, we know it'll lead to the Mass Immune, but it's still a nice thing. Though they don't know that yet.
Well, and I think Neon Gray is going to be fully loaded up, all the equipment they want, all the levels they want, but not, well, maybe not levels yet, but maybe we'll see some grinding here on the levels in just a second.
It just feels weird, like Neon Gray has the promotion and the equipment access, while Split Punch is the one with the levels. So maybe Split Punch is the one that's doing the scouting on the scouting mission right now, perhaps. I think we have had cases where the one on the scouting mission ended up actually winning the thing, so...
Oh, absolutely, and with those levels, I'm not surprised. It's just sort of... I would have either, or in what I've seen, right, I'm certainly not an expert runner myself, but I've been watching a few of these matches. Usually the scout will go in earlier at a lower level, while the heavy hitter will stay in grind levels. And we saw Split Punch grind up to a relatively high level, but not get the equipment, not get the promotion. So that's an interesting choice, and that's what I'm sort of curious about. And I'll try to remember to ask them if they do decide to come in for a post-race interview.
Yep, and so apparently Split Punch actually, you got the Quake, and oh man, okay, Sledge is still checking chess on the way back out. Okay, and that's where the adamant was. Okay. So that's the thing Supersledge needed, but at this point, unless we have a Topher that is really mean, which, given we have clamp stats, that is definitely possible. It may be too little too late, but we'll see how... got split punched at carry 2 now. Let's see how things are going. We got lit 2. That's something you do want to see. And apparently, Super Luigi was able to take down Warmech, so was probably exited out, saved all that juicy experience, and then it's going back in to take out Tiamat.
Yep, that's what it looks like, and Split Punched is still the only one in Temple of Fiends Revisited. We do have Supersledge now. Sorry, what did I miss?
Yeah, Split Punch just hit carry for was like 1,200 damage. So that's taking her out with emphasis.
No, yeah, absolutely. And then I was going to say Supersledge is in go mode. It looks like Sledge is now headed to Dwarf Cave for that Adamant turn-in, which will be the final item they need, and then they can get started on their Topher dive.
Yep, so they're pretty much accomplishing both things at the same time. Sledge getting that loot, Super Luigi about to take on Tiamat 1, while Split Punched is taking on Kraken 2. And is just right away loading up with the Brack strats. And loading up with Fog 2 as well, which is an interesting decision against Kraken 2.
So, Melee, can you tell us the difference between Fog and Invis?
Fog is a defense buff. It improves your absorb, while in the Invis line improves your agility, your evasion. Most people will be loading up on the Inv 2s, but I guess if you don't have those ready to go, you have to use what you got. But the nuke from Kraken is decimating the party.
Yeah, Woad is laying down and taking a nap again. Neon is
Neon's down. 7 hits for 489. Not a bad hit, but you kind of want to see more. Just doing the Brack strats some more. Well, Super Luigi took down Tiamat 1 in pretty short order. And down goes Kraken 2. And it's just the fighter.
Just the fighter.
Oh boy.
So we're gonna see man mode all the way through. That's certainly possible.
You don't have any other choice. It's either proceed onwards or reset out.
Yeah, that fighter is level 32, so that's a very strong fighter. But I guess if you are considering this a scout, then you might as well see what Tiamat 2 has.
This is an interesting decision. Move the Brack Gauntlet away, move the nuke shirt in. But if you're gonna get an unrunnable air fight, I think the nuke shirt might be the better option. Especially if the airs are proving to be on the tanky side. But if you have to deal with groups of enemies, I think nuke is probably the better option there. Meanwhile, Sledge just nuked down Garland and is just waiting at the oh, they actually have the loot. Okay.
Yep.
It wasn't marked on the tracker. I thought he was waiting for... Oh, Sledge was one that got the loot. Right.
And Supersledge enters the Temple of Fiends Revisited 121.50. So about 7 minutes behind, but I'm not sure they're all that behind with Tiamat 2 and Chaos still ahead of the lone fighter for Split.
Yep, and Split Punch is just loading up with Brack, and it works! Holy cow, the Brack strats worked! Oh, when Split Punch goes on and is switching the nuke shirt in just to deal with any random encounters. Okay, I get that strategy. That is nice. Okay.
Yeah, and that is amazing because Tiamat 1 is relatively weak to Brack. Tiamat 2, not so much anymore.
Yeah, but there's always that chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you're resistant to it, there's still that You see us in the community refer to the 3 in 256 chance. That's how the random numbers are generated here is out of 256. So 3 in 256 is like a 1.2% chance or something. You always have that.
And he's got both the Bane staff and the Brat Gauntlet is doing Bane first. And Chaos has nuclear. Okay. And hits decently hard. It could have been a heck of a lot worse than that.
Meanwhile, Sledge is just about to face Lich 2, and Super Luigi is checking the validation chest on his way down through Temple of Fiends.
Wow, that was a low roll on nuclear. That only hit for 92. Wow, but he's packing some abilities, and there's another nuclear, and Split Punch goes down.
Just too much nuclear.
Yeah, but that was a lot of information that Ordeals with it just gained from that one dive. Being able to get all the way to Chaos on the first go, that was... Now they have the knowledge to hopefully make their second dive the successful one, but yeah, Chaos is not messing around, has a lot of nasty things to send at our runners here today.
Yeah, no, and absolutely I agree, Daddy Shelton. If he didn't get his party wiped by Kraken, he could well have had that, but multiple nuclear Chaos is likely. I don't know the exact skills, but that would be very challenging regardless.
Yeah, I definitely saw, I think it was Lit 2, I think it was a couple of nuclears. I thought I saw maybe there was a nuke in there too, I don't remember now. But I think the only information we didn't get was how the absorbent evasion. Because Split Punch was just loading up, just doing Bane and Brack stuff the entire time.
Yeah, and here we have on our left side, we have Sledge going for carry 2 and his partner Super Luigi. So we have double carry 2.
Yep, the Super Sledge taking down, going through Topher in tandem. And only one of our runners had one person each team has to beat Chaos. As soon as one person beats Chaos, we will have our winner. And Neon Gray has been grinding on slimes, is hit level 31, so is definitely taking that information from Split Punch and just gaining more levels, because there are not that many problems that can't be solved by just gaining more levels.
Well, and the other big change that we see here is that Split Punch has promoted, which will make some difference.
And is getting that mass mute as well.
Yeah, just the equipment that Fighter can use can make a big difference, and can make a big difference in the approach.
Yeah, and I guess it makes a bit more sense that he didn't even try using melee attacks against Chaos, because with the Sun Sword, if you do, 4 for 4 damage, that's not really telling you a lot with the Sun Sword, with completely unbuffed.
Yeah, I would say Sun Sword is about on the lowest, might be the worst possible end-game sword you might see.
The bottom of the top, you might say?
Right. Absolutely, and it's also, I believe, the top sword that the Fighter and the Red Mage can use.
Outside of Massa, of course, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, because Massa can be used by everybody, but I see, I know what you're talking about. You know, Super Sledge is both members taking on Kraken 2.
And Sledge is having a tough time with Kraken 2. 2 members down, 3 members.
Yeah. And yeah, that's getting the turn order for that nuke, and not enough. And Kraken replies with a nuke of his own, and still not enough. And wow, 11 hits for 11-11.
Yep,
that's a lot of ones,
a heck
right
of a
there,
hug.
and that means wipe for Sledge.
But we do see Super Luigi. Super Luigi is putting up walls, which is a spell that has the same effect as gets through Kraken.
It was a good thing too, because Kraken just threw out Crack right afterwards, and thankfully it didn't hit anyone.
Yeah, and all 4 party members are up, passing Kraken. So we'll see how it goes with Tia, especially with all those insta-kill spells that Tiamat 2 seems.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed that as Super Luigi was healing up, he's still pretty good on heal potions. Still had around 70 after the healing.
Yeah, so we are down to 1 runner in Temple of Fiends Revisited, where just a few minutes ago we had all 3. We are 15 minutes in after the first team entered Temple of Fiends. And I guess Split Punched is back in.
Yep.
Neon Gray, I hope, is heading that way, but not quite yet. Maybe getting spells for the night.
Yep, seeing what we can get for the night. Yeah, Fog 2, Invis. Exfer could get some use here, but nah. It decides not. Neon Gray decides not to go for it.
Yeah, Sledge doing a bit of shopping too, while Split Punched is moving down past the Phantom Floor and headed down to Earth.
Yeah, Tiamat definitely has a lot of absorb. Even with buff with fasts and such as Super Luigi, still not doing that much for damage. But Tiamat 2 goes down.
Just kept chipping away, and that nuke shirt only hit for 108, but was still just enough. And here we have our second attempt on Chaos, our first by Team Supersledge.
And Super Luigi is definitely in a better situation than Split Punched was, just from the benefit of having all 4 party members alive. But we know Chaos is, well, there's Ice too, but Chaos is packing a lot of strong stuff and has some good absorb too. I'm seeing 3 for 3, 3 for 7. Oh boy.
I have faith in Dengwu. He often takes naps during a lot of these tournaments, but depends on who he's playing for, I guess.
There's the nuclear. Everyone's still up. No, we got at least 1 more coming around. But using both the Massa and the Vorpal, it looks like.
Right, a couple of Invis 2s up, a heal 2, and we're actually got some useful hits on Chaos.
155. Oh, there's Inferno. And, there go the mages. So it's now hold A and pray at this point.
Yeah, those were some nasty hits, and we got just under 300, just under 200, another 200 and something. So we're chipping away at Chaos, but Chaos has anywhere between 2,000 and 4,000 hit points.
And the slow 2 went off, hit the massive user.
Rub comes out, but they're protected front. I believe they have pro rings.
Pro rings, even ribbons. I don't think any of that cares. I don't think Slow 2 cares about any of that.
Oh, not Slow 2, the rub.
Oh, right, yeah. The rub I wasn't too concerned about. Just from levels alone, the magic, they probably would have resisted that. Split Punched is on the fire floor. Neon Gray is in Topher as well. So in a moment, we're going to have all 4 of our runners here. And the Vorpal Wheeler's down.
Yep, we're down to just Dengwu against Chaos.
Oh boy.
And terminated.
And down Super Luigi does it with a slow 2 fighter. We've got enough crits went through, and we have our winner. Supersledge has taken this first game in this best of 3. Oh wow, that could have gone badly in a number of different ways after the Red Wizards went down, slow 2 hit. Oh man.
Yeah, so we have our winners of Game 1, our Team Supersledge, Super Luigi, at 1 hour 31 minutes. They were behind coming into Temple of Fiends Revisited. but managed to play through. Super Luigi had a great run and played extremely well all the way through, carried all 4 characters into Chaos, and that made the difference because 200 health left on his entire party.
Yeah, that was very nicely played by Super Luigi there.
All right, and we see Sledge waiting around. We do see Ordeals with it, playing through, looking to complete the seed. We have Neon Gray has just finished Lich 2 and is headed to Earth Floor. Split Punch has completed Carry 2 and is headed through Seafloor, hitting one of these seafood combo packs, running away. I guess today is not a good day for Seafood.
Alright, I'm gonna go pay a visit to Sledge and Super Luigi, see if they want to come in for an interview.
Absolutely. While we see Split Punched here is taking on Kraken 2. And I think we're seeing melee strats this time. We see a fast and a temper. We see a Kraken hug for 647, almost taking out Split Punch. We do get a Cure 4 off, so... And then Kraken takes out the healer. Hey guys, welcome and congratulations to Super Luigi and Sled.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that chaos fight was definitely a sight to see.
I was like, oh my god! It was like the nuclear comes out. I was like, both the red majors are dead!
And then the slow 2 hit.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, the slow 2 hit the Massa Wielder.
Oh. Okay.
That's why you were suddenly doing like 4 for 4 at times.
I'm back. Holy crap.
Yeah, we're
just a second, guys. We do have Split Punched is on Tiamat 2. Again, going melee strats this time, where last time he had demand mode through here. Both red mages are down again. So but he'll have 2 members of his party up, hopefully going into Chaos this time.
Yep, so for some context for Team Supersledge, Split Punched was the first one to get into Topher at about an hour 14, so about 7 minutes before you guys went in tandem.
Okay.
So he was left with just the actually he only had just the fighter at the time. They hadn't even really found the tail. I think it was Neon Gray was just finding the tail right around that time. And Kraken pretty much took out everyone except for the fighter, was able to Brack team at 2, and unfortunately Bane and Brack wasn't on his side in Chaos against Chaos. But...
Right, and Split Punched is fighting Chaos, and
holy
man,
cow, that was a lot of damage.
Yeah, we've had a hit for 500 and a hit for 1100. We're getting plenty of tempers out of the Black Mage. The slow 2 did hit, but 1680 there, so we're up about 3,000 hit points.
Yep, and just like that, Split Punch takes down
GG's.
Chaos in real short order this time around. It was pretty much just that promotion was pretty much what did it, because Sunsword really wasn't doing the job before. No, though he wasn't even trying with the Sunsword. He was just doing Bane Staff and Brack Gauntlet the entire time. So with Supersledge,
hey,
how did you guys think of this seed?
I like that there's certainly some things we could have done, like communicating for if we talked to the old man or not, because neither of us did until towards the end. So
yeah, finding that fast shirt was a really nice thing.
Yeah, I needed that for Warmech.
Yeah, I just saw it. I got annoyed because I was expecting the loot, and I just warped out, reset at that point.
Ouch.
Okay, so my question for you guys, did you guys feel ahead, behind, or did you have any idea where you were at compared to your competition?
So
it's that loot that made us feel behind. Well, that in my case.
I felt like we were ahead until I wiped to Warmech twice, then I felt behind.
Okay,
Oh.
that's fair, especially finding that loot very late. I know in chat we were cheering you guys, saying, "No, go to the wrong. You're on the wrong floor."
Yeah, so
Yeah,
when you were passing by
kept,
those chests in the Agama floor, yeah, we were kind of we
I'm
were
like, I'm
kind of
gonna.
worried for you.
It's because I don't remember ever finding Elf Castle, so I was going to the end thinking that it was Elf Castle at the end, and then if it wasn't the loot at the Elf Castle, just backtrack from there.
Okay, that does make sense.
Because I don't even remember where Elf Castle was at all.
Yeah, I wasn't in our notes. It's like, where was that? Yeah, so.
And then, like, the loot was basically the chest that I stopped opening chests and went forward. Because it was on that floor that I stopped opening chests. That's where the loot was.
Or at least what I think it was the adamant that turned into the loot, I think.
Well, yeah, the
Or,
adamant.
or something like that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was the adamant that turned into the loot.
Okay, and here I have one of your competitors here. I have Neon Gray from Ordeals with it that I'll pull in just a second.
I guess so.
GG, Neon.
GG.
Yeah, thank you, and GG to you guys.
Yeah, that was a really. You guys definitely went in different directions, but it all came within 5 minutes of each other at the end.
Yeah, we were getting kind of worried. Obviously for good reason. I'm looking forward to watching this one back.
Yeah, it was all you guys. The hunt was basically for 2 different items for each of you. For Supersledge, it was finding the loot via the adamant, and for you guys, it was really the last thing that y'all were having issues finding was that tail.
Yeah, and also the Massa, which I think is what really made it for a split.
Yes.
And I think you know, because you know everything else we had. I mean, the tail probably would have made a difference too, because everything else we had needed promotion. But either way,
Yeah, like everything in that Sky 3, that was just a huge treasure trove. 3 loose items, Excal and Vorpal all in one spot.
yeah, and of course, none of us, nothing we could use. So
Yeah, so I
Wait.
have a question about your strategy there toward the end. It looked like you were going around getting items, but then Split Punch stopped and ground levels up to about 30 or 31 before going on into a Topher dive. We're just wondering if that was like intentional, like you were expecting him to make it through. Was that a scouting attempt? What was your thought process at that point?
at that point, you know, he was feeling better about his weapon setup than I was with it. So he was just grinding off some extra hit points for the run, while I was like, you know, we don't have tail or massa. I'm gonna dig for that, because you know we're gonna need either to promote or we're going to need something we don't need to promote to use. Because you know, Sun Swords, I like the Sun Sword. It can get the job done, but I think with these clamps on the boss, I'm not satisfied with that being the only option.
Yeah, especially with I think it was both Tiamat and Tima 2 and Kraken, Chaos rather, had some pretty high absorb. So the Stun Sword by itself probably would not have gotten the job done, not without some significant buffs going into it. And I was amazed and impressed that Split Punch on that first dive through made it all the way to Chaos, especially after what Kraken 2 did.
Hey, that's the Braxtrats for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was just unfortunate that it didn't work against Chaos because that.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
was just
at
so
that
interesting
point we weren't
watching.
expecting it to, but at that point, you know, you still want to see what he's got, because
Right.
by then I
And
was like, you know what, when you're out of there, I'll come in and I should be ready for it, which I probably would have been, but he made it through first.
And I noticed that the only information we didn't get about Chaos was like absorb and evasion, but when you're using Sun Sword, how accurate was that information going to be.
Yeah, I mean, we at that point, we assume, that he's gonna be beefy.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it
then
was for Super Luigi. It was a real close fight against Chaos,
Yeah.
especially because he was at one point he was down to just the two knights, one with Massa, one with Vorpal, and the Massa wielder got slow two'd, and then the Vorpal one got killed off, and it was just a matter of can you get enough crits, and that
Yeah, ouch.
Yeah, it worked. I didn't even notice the slow too. It was like I was just like that must have been happening when I was getting ready, like going into the Discord channel on my laptop to type.
I want to say the slow
Just in
two hit
case.
before the Vorpal wielder died.
Oh.
Yeah.
And let's just say, hearing him fight it was actually really funny, which is why I couldn't go back into Topher right away. It was really intense of a fight.
Yeah, it was cool
Yeah, I
seeing you
bet.
guys. You guys were you were going up Topher pretty much hand in hand.
Yeah.
Fighting Carry 2 at the same time, fighting Kraken 2 at the same time. It was
Yeah.
neat seeing that.
Yeah, we pretty much. He went in before I did because I went to go buy gold bracelets for the red mages because I had no armor for them. So,
Oof.
Yep. So yes, it was just a 7-minute difference between first entering Topher. Sled Punch went in at 114. I believe Sledge, you were in next at 121 with Super Luigi not far behind. So that could have, depending on how Topher behaved, that this race could have easily gone either way.
Yeah. It could have.
then I got lucky and I had all 4 members alive at Chaos.
Yeah, and that, of course, is going to make a huge difference no matter what your setup is. So, yeah, that's, yeah, so good work.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
fun run, though. What fun, Seed.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think I have one more question for you guys, and this is for both teams. Are you comfortable with your setup and your approach to today's game, or are you going to make any dramatic changes for next time? Should we be looking for something? I realize you might not want to give away all of your strats while your opponent's here, but if you give us a flavor, that would be fantastic.
Let's just say from my end, I started with the wrong party because I was too stressed out for my first match. But I rolled with it.
I mean, for our part, I think our big concerns are, we are quite assured now that it really, having a viable weapon is really important on this flag set, and you cannot afford to skimp on that. Even with his magic touch on the meme strats. But other than that, we had some minor coordination issues. We had our Titan tunnels backwards. But other than that, it's I think we're pretty happy with how we're doing this and how we're covering ground. So yeah.
Yeah,
Mostly we're really out of practice. I haven't
Although
played since Chaos Rush, and he hasn't since last year's league. So.
Oh wow. Although I was seeing that there was some good coordination between you guys, like when Split Punched was grinding for the floater. I noticed you were waiting at the desert, just waiting for the moment to take advantage of that.
Yeah, that was hilarious actually, because he was like, "Oh, this doesn't have any money. Why am I getting a really good run on the encounter table?" Everything like that.
What was really unfortunate was that was the same floor that had the TNT.
Yeah.
That would have led to the Massa and probably would have changed your fortunes.
Yeah, like that would have been huge, but what can you do?
Yeah, and we did see a very similar move from Team Supersledge, where I think it was for them. It was the tail, where I think Sledge got the tail, and Super Luigi was waiting in Bahamut's cave or walking down there just in time. Had to wait like 10 seconds, maybe.
Oh yeah, the timing was just on par for that.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, it's like he found the tail. I'm like, well, I just found Bahamut, so I just sat there and waited for it to pop. So
Yeah, it was beautiful to watch.
You gotta love it when timing is on point like that.
Okay, so I guess we will see you guys again for game 2 on Monday night, 8 p.m.
Tuesday night.
Eastern.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. I
Tuesday
keep
night.
forgetting today is
Tuesday.
Sunday, not Saturday.
I mean, we could do Monday night if we get the go ahead from the other team. So,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, I do have cat cuddling.
yeah,
And it's important to pet cats.
Yeah, no worries.
yeah, yeah. It's just that if we end up going 1-1,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll see. I can probably just book it off. I'll talk it over with Split. We'll see how it goes.
yeah.
Yep. So
Okay,
as
yeah,
of now, their game 2 for between our two teams here is slated for Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Our next race that on the schedule looks to be tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Our first Elite 8 matchup between the Upstarts and Zodiac Braves. Elsewhere on the Randomania networks tonight at 5 on Randomania 1, we have a Metroid Prime 2 randomizer race. And at 9 o'clock, we have the weekly race for Dragon Warrior. So we have some good stuff on tap for you guys. Not to mention all the things happening elsewhere. So any final words from our two teams?
I'd just like to say GG to our opponents. They did a
Yeah.
pretty good match. I figured that we were neck and neck near towards the end because like we're in Topher and then I don't see anything, so I'm thinking they must be in Topher at the same time. So I got really worried that they were fighting chaos while I was on like crack and
Yeah, we were getting really worried too there. So GG to you guys and to everybody who watched. Thanks for coming here instead of the big thing going on right now.
All right, so alongside our tracker Thier 1989, our restreamer Dengwu, and my fellow commentator MG Weirdo, I am Melee Wizard, and have a nice day.